you. All right, good morning, traders. Today is April 11th, 2025. Hey, I want to thank all my members for paying for a subscription. I appreciate that. I don't take that for granted. All right. I hope to provide valuable content every day for you. I want to thank everybody out there in Cyberland, Podcast Land, Digital Land. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. Thank you for the kind comments. Appreciate that. That helps inspire me to keep this up. All right. So, hey, let's go ahead and get started. Happy Friday. Big tax day coming up on the 15th. Who likes that, right? All right. So my SPY pivot this morning. 526.60. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the Fab Five still in daily downtrends. Still in weekly downtrends as well. SPY, FNGA, and IWM all made inside days. Actually, they all made inside days. Okay, but SPY, FNGA, IWM made inside days closing under bearish traps, under their falling 17 EMAs. QQQ and Diamond Dow made, again, inside days, closing inside their bearish traps under the falling 17s. SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute downtrend. Gold in a daily uptrend made a new all-time high. Silver made a higher high and a higher low, closing inside a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. Silver is still in a daily downtrend. USO, UNG made inside days, closing under bearish traps under their 17 EMAs. US dollar index. Did you guys see the drop on that US dollar? Closed near the 100.97 area and went even further today. SPY Max Pain, 530 for today with a put to call ratio of 2 puts to each call that expires today at 4:15. Now, let me just say, Fridays they can be kind of funky trading Fridays. You never know. At the end of the day, they're likely to pin it to some area. Usually after 2:30, they like to pin it to wherever they're at 2:30. Usually means they're probably going to fade it out in that area. And you get a lot of whippiness going around on Fridays where they will try to shake the calls off or shake the puts off, get you to close early or whatever. So be careful. Today gets kind of wild. It's not like a conventional trading day. Not like the rest of them have been kind of weird too. Hey, I want to make this make everybody aware of this. Hey, we're having an open house. If you're out there in Digital Land, Cyberland, we're going to have an open house. And it happens Monday, all right? And I come in here at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I give you a presentation to help you prepare for the day. I summarize what happened yesterday, okay? So that's what happens at 8 o'clock, and then I do learning all day long. Usually after the open house or during the open house, I start out with a brand new $27,000 account. Last account, I wish I could pull it up, but I don't have it here right handy right off, but I may dig it out at the end of the video, all right? But I think I'm up about 400% for the month. It's been a good month, all right? A lot of volatility this month. So, free open house, all right? I will leave a link in the description, all right? So if you're interested in hanging out with us here in the room, all right? We do some pretty basic stuff, all right? We like our flagship trades, a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, 10-minute downtrend under VWAP, okay? So it's free. You just register, and they should send you credentials or whatever it needs, a link to enter the open house on Monday. And you can stop in at any time on Monday, or you can hang out with us from the very beginning of the day, 8 o'clock until 4:15 in the evening. All right, so free attendance for open house. If you have friends, members, if you have friends that are interested in learning day trading or see what it's like in a trading room, this is a perfect opportunity to share this with them. Let them know, hey, I'm doing well over here. I'd like to share this with you if you were interested. It's no pressure, but he's having an open house on Monday. All right, so all right, let's go down. Let's get down to business here. Let's go take a look at some charts. Okay, so open house on Monday. All right, let's take a look at SPY. We'll look at it on the 10-minute. Okay, you can see on the 10-minute, this candle doesn't count, so we were in a 10-minute downtrend under at closing time. All right, I gotta say it was in a 10-minute uptrend. All right, so I will look for a green candle to continue that 10-minute uptrend because they recovered over 51% of this by 4:15. All right, so I'm gonna look for a 10-minute uptrend. All right, for continuation of this that we started. We got up over VWAP. So we'll see what happens. So 10-minute, it was a 10-minute downtrend going into the close. All right, but I can see we had an uptrend going on and we got right up over VWAP there. So we'll see what happens. 2-hour chart. All right. Is that right? 2-hour. Oh, that's the daily chart. That's not the 2-hour. Here we go. 2-hour was an uptrend coming into the close. All right. Back to the 10-minute chart. I just came up with an idea. Okay. Okay, that's the rubber band candle right there. Right over the top of that rubber band candle, right there. Okay, basically you can see where price came up here before and made a higher low. All right. I see ascending tails right now. All right, so I see ascending tails. I just want to point this out. And where's my drawing tools? You ever wake up in the morning and you find out your computer went off last night? Am I the only one that has that? You wake up in the morning. Well, shut down last night. I don't remember. I didn't ask for this. Yeah, exactly. Ugh. Like, why? I didn't turn it off. I left it on for a specific reason. Yeah, well, that's what I'm dealing with, okay? So, all right, so we got ascending tails here, okay? And I just want to point that out, or ascending lows, all right? Either way, you want to look at it. So, right up over this rubber band, this rubber band doji right there. We break the top of that, and I got to tell you, I think we're coming up. All right, we're coming up to the gap, the open gap up here. All right, it's an open gap. See that? Where we gapped down yesterday and the bulls never filled it. All right, so we're coming up to that open gap. All right, so if we get up there and hang out and grind away, all right, at the supply overhead, we could fill gap and then go even further. We'll see. All right, so 530 is max pain. All right, we're obviously right around it right now, but breaking that rubber band candle right there on the 10-minute chart, I would want to be long. All right, just saying. All right, for a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. So there's SPY on the 10-minute. All right, so I'm going to go back. Let me just clear this out, trash all that. All right, let's go back to the 2-hour chart. Okay, 2-hour chart going into the close. You got the yellow 3 EMA is up over the white 8 EMA. All right. So that's a 2-hour uptrend on the daily chart. Yes, back to the daily chart. Daily downtrend. See how the yellow 3 EMA, yeah, right here is under the white 8 EMA. Daily downtrend. Weekly chart. Okay, weekly downtrend. Okay. I don't know. That looks like exhaustion to me. I hope that's not igniting, but that looks like exhaustion. I kind of hope it is. All right, so there's a weekly chart. All right, so weekly downtrend, daily downtrend, 2-hour uptrend, 10-minute, got to break that rubber band candle. So there's SPY. Let's take a look at the game plan, all right? And on the game plan, we look at it on the 15-minute. Let's zoom out here and check on this one right here. Game plan. Okay, so up over... All right, this is SPY game plan. Up over 533.70. All right, that's pretty much where the gap begins. Okay, that's a bullish green erases red entry. All right, so if we get up into this gap, we could begin to fill it. All right, On the downside, if we get down below this area right here, that's the low. All right, right there. That was a rubber band candle right there at the end of the day, or a spike candle. Down below 519.20, that would be the bearish red erases green entry. SPY pivot, again, 526.60. All right, so up over 533.70, bullish green erases red. Underneath 519.20, bearish red erases green. All right, I like 7 days till expiration option and 14 days till expiration Friday options. Okay, I like Friday options. They got more open interest. More open interest equals higher liquidity. More liquidity means tighter spreads. All right, that's why I like Friday options. Also like a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. All right, we may not have a green erases red event or a red erases green event, but if we do happen to have a 10-minute trend over or under VWAP, I do also trade those. All right, so you may not get the game plan trade, but there might be a 10-minute uptrend or under VWAP. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP or a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP. That is also a tradable pattern as well. So there's SPY. All right, there's your game plan for SPY. Let's take a look at QQQ. Very similar. QQQ, all right, over, that'd be the gap. They try to fill the gap over 456.10. Again, that gap's overhead. Over 456.10, all right. That's a bullish green erases red, all right. And underneath 441.80, that is a bearish red erases green. QQQ pivot, 448.50. Again, same thing on QQQ. I like the 7 days till expiration options and the 14 days till expiration Friday options, okay? Both of those are Friday options, all right, that are $10 to $20 out of the money. All right, we've had to go $10 to $20 out of the money due to the 10-day ATR. That's the average true range for the last 10 days, okay? This average true range is incredibly high. I have not seen it this high in a long, long time. Not since like the .com era, all right? I've never seen it this high, all right? That's crazy high, all right? I don't even think it got that high during the .com era. Anyways, green erases red over 456.10, all right? Red erases green under 441.80. Pivot 448.50. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All right, so there's SPY, okay? Again, I like the 10-minute uptrends over VWAP and the 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, okay? Those are both playable patterns for me. So there's QQQ and SPY. Let's go take a look at QQQ on the daily chart. Let's pick up a different one. All right, QQQ on the daily chart. Price action's an inside day. And I have to zoom in. And we closed inside the trap. All right. Inside the bearish trap. Under the falling 17. Okay. Under the all-time high anchored VWAP. In the lower third. So it's still bearish down here. Okay. Still in a daily downtrend. Because we made lower highs and lower lows. Back to SPY. Okay, inside day closing under the bearish trap, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, okay, and still bearish because it's in the lower third, all right, still bearish because it's in the lower third, made a lower high and a lower low, still in a daily downtrend as well, okay, so there's SPY. Let's take a look at IWM. Another inside day closing under the trap, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, down here in quadrant 4, that's bearish, lower highs, lower lows, still in a downtrend. All right, Diamond Dow. Okay, inside day closing inside the bearish trap as opposed to under. All right, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under the midpoint, no longer in the lower third. I'm going to give it to them. All right, so kind of neutral here. Okay, you go down, you give it up, that's neutral. You go up, you give it up, that's neutral. All right, so no longer in the lower third, so that's just neutral there on diamond down. FNGA. All right, inside day. Okay, notice makes a lower high and a higher low. Closed underneath, bearish trap. Closing underneath the falling 17. See the red dots? Those are the 17 EMA. Pink line is the all-time high anchored VWAP. Closing under the pink line, under the midpoint. Quadrant 4, that's bearish. It's in the lower third. All right? So there's FNGA. All right, let's go take a look at our technicals. T2122. Some wild price action there on the 15-minute T2122. All right, so what did we get yesterday? We've got a rip into the buyer's chop zone, all right, making a higher high. That's promising, all right, but then we turn around, made a lower low here, right here. So that's not promising, okay? Then we bounced up, made a lower high, all right, and then back down to create a higher low. So looking like consolidation, if you ask me, all right, with all of this kind of squeeze going on. Right in here. We ended the day inside the seller's chop zone, okay? Kind of like to be in the buyer's chop zone, but at least we're not in the oversold zone. I'll take it. So possible trend up, possible trend down. All right, you can see the high, and then lower high. You can see the low, and then a higher low, and then yet again, possibly another higher low. That's T2122, all right? Stuck inside the seller's chop zone. All right, let's go take a look at T2123, all right? Not much going on here. This is just as flat. This is like, I mean, if you were looking at an EKG, you'd say this thing was dead, all right? But green almost all day, all right? Except for 5 15-minute candle bars right there. But all in all, no lower lows, no higher highs. Okay, this thing is flat. And did we fill the gap? I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah, we filled gap on that yesterday. Okay, so no bearish gaps down, no bullish gaps up. Just a flat line right here. I've never seen it that flat for that extended period of time. That's incredibly flat. All right, still stuck underneath, falling 200 SMA on the 15-minute time frame, T2123, okay? We're not making any higher highs yet, all right? Something to make a note of, all right? Not quite time yet, all right? Still not making any higher highs. We filled one bearish gap right here, all right? But that wasn't really a tall order, okay? It wasn't anything incredible. We just filled a bearish gap. Took us 2 days to get it done, or actually we got it done in 1 day. Yeah, so we filled the gap, the bearish gap, not yesterday but the day before. Still haven't filled this bearish gap. Still haven't filled this bearish gap, nor this bearish gap. Okay, not making any higher highs. I'm going to remain bearish on this T2123. T2123 3 bar. Again, you can see price action made a lower high. There's the high. Made a lower high and made a lower low. There's a low. They made a lower low. All right. They lingered in a bear flag for way too long. Yeah. And then they had a meltdown. All right. So are they going to enter into another bear flag and have another meltdown? It's a possibility. We'll see, but nothing bullish happening yet. Okay, no bearish gaps getting filled. Well, just one from yesterday. All right, but the day before. But other than that, none of these are getting filled. The trend indicator, well, the 17 EMA still red. All right, so nothing really bullish happening yet. Still caught underneath the falling 17. All right, so not a conditions change yet. All right, not till we start making higher highs. And the first high to take out would probably be, well, this high right up here. All right, we'd have to break this bear flag. And that's a big, tall order right there to do that. We'd have to fill this bearish gap, that bearish gap, and this bearish gap right here. So probably have to come up here and make contact with that falling 200 SMA right there. So you can see we're underneath all three prior all-time highs right here. All of these were prior all-time highs. We're underneath all three of them, underneath the fading 200 SMA. Nothing bullish happening. And look, the 17 is still red. All right, let's take a look at FNGA. Okay, yesterday's price action, gap down. Notice the bulls didn't fill the gap. Okay, but we did not retrace 100%. So we kind of hung out here in the midpoint. All right, so let's take a look at this. So we kind of held the midpoint up here, came down here, tested the bear zone, all right, in the lower third. This is the move up. This is the, how do I want to say this? This is the, I guess you could call it the tariff announcement, the tariff blow off, where we were supposed to get tariffs, but then they decided to delay them for 90 days. Okay, so there's the tariff blow off right there. And you can see price action still has not gotten bearish. We've made higher lows. Okay, so here's a low. We made a higher low. And then look here, we made another higher low. From this higher low, we made a higher high. Okay, we still haven't filled this bearish gap here. Need to make another higher high to keep this uptrend going. Let's draw a trend line in here and see if they can hold it. All right, so there's a trend line. Hopefully they can hold this uptrend. All right, all in all, still got a downtrend working right through here. All right, we'll see if we can break that. We're in the middle of a little consolidation wedge. We'll see if we can break through the top side of this. That would be nice. So there's FNGA on the 15-minute. Okay, finally back up over the falling 200 SMA. That is a good sign. All right, making higher lows is a good sign. Making higher highs is a good sign. All right, starting a uptrend right here. That is a good sign. And being up over the 200 SMA, also a good sign. All right, so we'll see if we can make it back to this area, which was minor resistance right there. Like to make it up there and test that minor resistance one more time. All right, so we'll see if we can get that done maybe today, FNGA. All right, let's go take a look at some sectors, and we'll head off to XLE. All right, let's take a look at XLE. All right, XLE inside day. All right, underneath the trap, underneath the falling 17, down in quadrant 4. That's bearish. Let's take a look at USO. Okay, down here in quadrant 4. Okay, inside day, underneath the bearish trap, underneath the, see the 3 underneath the ADMA, underneath the bearish trap, underneath, see the 17 pointed down, red dots, just descending one after another lower. Okay, price action under the trap, under the 17, pink line, that is a 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's the post-COVID high right there. So down here in quadrant 4, price, all right, that's bearish. All right, making lower lows, making a lower high and a lower low. All right, that's a downtrend. And down here in quadrant 4, that's bearish. That's USO. Let's take a look at UNG. All right, making lower highs, lower lows. That's a downtrend. Price action inside day, under the trap. All right, under the falling 17 or the fading 17. Right up here at the midpoint, that's neutral. All right, not in the upper third, not in the lower third. So it's just neutral. Under the uptrend line, but over this 12-month high anchored VWAP. All right, so there's UNG, just neutral right now. Gold, high flyer here, made a new all-time high. All right, target for gold, 315.66. All right, new all-time high for gold. Silver. Silver put in a higher low and a higher high, closing inside a bearish trap under the falling 17, under this. This doubles as a 6-month high anchored VWAP and a 12-year high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, closing under that 6-month high anchored VWAP inside a bearish trap under a falling 17, making lower lows. That's a downtrend. Okay, let's take a look at SMH. All right, another inside day, closing under a bearish trap under the falling 17 in the lower third. That's bearish underneath all-time high anchored VWAP. Still bearish for SMH. Take a look at XLK, the sibling to SMH. In the lower third, that's bearish, closing right here. Inside a bearish trap under the falling 17. A little bit healthier than SMH. A little bit, just a little bit. Closing underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's the pink line. All right, so price action for XLK. All right, still bearish. All right, so let's take a look at XLF. Inside day, closing under a bearish trap, under the falling 17, under all-time high anchored VWAP. There's XLF on the daily chart. Neutral, all right? Now they were bullish, and then they were bearish. Now they're back to neutral. Okay, that's XLF. IYT. All right, IYT, inside day, closing under the trap, under the falling 17, down here in quadrant 4. That's bearish, okay? In order for us to have a decent, robust rally, okay, you got to have at least 2 of the 3, all right? And the 3 are transports, financials, and technology, all right? Got to be in uptrends to have a decent, robust rally. Okay, nothing is in an uptrend at this time. Are we trying to fight it off? Yes. All right, but right now, we don't have it. All right, and the big one we need is the FNGA. All right, so it's just not happening yet. So I'm going to remain bearish until things turn around. Thanks for sharing that, Alan. So Alan just shared the PPI. Let's take a peek at that. And slide this up here. PPI month over month. All right, minus 0.4. All right, that is pretty good. Year over year is, they didn't print an actual for year over year. I guess they've missed some of those results, Alan. Oh, well, maybe they'll get it later. Oh, preliminary. All right. Just teasing us, right? Just teasing us. Thanks for sharing, Alan. All right, so there's IYT. So we don't have any of the 3 of the trinity that we need, and that's transports, financials, and technology. Okay, nothing is in an uptrend. All right, some of them got 2-hour uptrends. All right, but nothing is in an uptrend. And then we also need FNGA right here. This is big cap. This is the big caps right here. The Microsoft, the Google, the heavyweights inside the SPY and the QQQ. You can see still just starting a 15-minute uptrend, but still in a daily downtrend, still in bearish territory down there. There's FNGA on the daily chart. All right, let's go take a look at the economic package. Oh, he came up with another one. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. All right. All right. So max pain for today is 530, with a put to call ratio of 2 puts to every call. All right, on the open interest, about 2 puts to every call. All right, on the dollar, look at this. All right. Lower highs, lower lows. Hey, lower high. Look at this. We broke the bottom down here. Lower low. All right. Dollar's in a downtrend. This should be good for the market. All right. But looming tariffs, I don't know. All right. That's uncertainty, right? When you got looming tariffs, all right, we don't know what's going to happen. All right. We can't get excited. So you see, nice dollar in the downtrend, breaking that low. And that low was created 6 months ago, back in October of 2024. All right, now when's the last time we got down this low? Let's go back and look. Well, all of 2023. Hey, look at this. Is it all of 2022? Come on, fill in. Yeah, maybe they'll populate it. I guess they're not going to give it to me. So possibly at a 3-year low, maybe even more. There's the U.S. dollar. We'll see what happens. So this is good to have a weak dollar against the other currencies. It helps us to sell our goods and services, but tariffs aren't going to help at all. All right, I'm just saying that. All right, weak dollar was good. All right, to sell goods and services, but tariffs not so good. All right, see what Alan's got posted up here. We'll take a look at it one more time. Thanks, Alan. All right, we got some results in now. All right, 2.7 year over year. All right, that's good. 2.5 would be better, but 2.7 is well under the range. All right, month over month, well under the range. Ex food and energy, under the range. Wow. All right, or the consensus range. Ex food and energy year over year, under the range. Wow. Ex food and energy trades and services, 0.01. Well, that's definitely under there, and 3.4, a little bit hot on year over year. We're still working on bringing it down. Hey, I got to say, all those numbers, if that's inflation, that's coming down. That's looking real good for a rate cut. Maybe a rate cut sooner than later. We'll see what happens. You know how the market loves rate cuts. All right, so we did Max Payne. We did the dollar. Dollar's falling. Let's take a look at earnings. All right, for earnings this week, all right, big cap JP Morgan Chase, all right, $635 billion. Okay, they report this morning. Wells Fargo, $207 billion. They report this morning. Morgan Stanley, $171 billion. They're going to report this morning. Progressive still looking for the P&L. BlackRock, $133 billion. They report this morning. There's nothing happening on Saturday, so that's it right there. I don't know if I can move up a week. Let's see if I can. Oh, we can. All right, so Goldman Sachs going to report on Monday, as well as M&T. All right, and Tuesday, let's see what we got. J&J is going to report Tuesday. Bank of America on Tuesday as well. All right, Citigroup Tuesday, Wednesday. ASML, all right, they're going to report on Wednesday. Abbott Labs, $215 billion, Wednesday. See what Thursday has. Taiwan Semiconductor, almost $1 trillion, $750 billion there. They're going to report. That's usually tech. Tech usually reports in the evening, all right? I guess that's evening for Taiwan, maybe. All right, so tech reports in the evening, usually reports in the evening. Taiwan Semiconductor going to report Thursday in the morning. United Healthcare, $500 billion in the morning. Netflix in the evening, $394 billion. American Express, $173. All right, so big earnings coming in next week. Keep an eye on these. All right, another bank. It's going to report on Friday. Doesn't look like Friday's confirmed. Everybody's got a dash. There's no sunshines or moonlights here, so doesn't looks like Friday's still up in the air as far as NASDAQ goes. All right, let's take a look at one last thing. Economic calendar. Today we got final PPI final demand at 8:30. Alan already shared it with us. Thank you, Alan. Consumer sentiment 10 o'clock. All right, and then a rig count at 1. That's it. That's it for the day, all right, for the economic calendar. All right, traders, I'm going to take off. I'll see you guys in about 35, 40 minutes. We'll open up the markets, all right, and we'll see. Thank you, everybody out there. And for, let me see if I can find that. Said I was going to look for it. I'll look for it. Desktop, how much I increased the account by. I have an Excel spreadsheet. My Excel spreadsheet is here somewhere. I'm still looking. Right here. All right, so these are my results for the open house started on March 10th. So I'm up to